take a minute to read, and I only have 2 pages of it, I'm sorry.
Here's the last page.
There are only 2 pages.
The last page has like adjournment.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Or we can vote, and I can just not vote. I don't want to hold up the meeting. Just a question that we've had to come up before. If someone wasn't at the meeting to know if the notes are correct, should they be making a motion to approve the minutes? Shouldn't it be from someone who was at the meeting?
No, that's not
It
a
doesn't matter if you weren't
requirement.
there or
No,
not,
ma'am.
If you were there or not. How would you know that they're correct then?
Well, the minutes are a reflection of the meeting, which is also recorded and posted online. So all meetings are available to the public to watch after the fact. So even if someone didn't attend, they can still watch the whole meeting via YouTube.
Are we prepared to have a vote? Nicole? All in favor?
Aye.
of approval?
Aye.
Aye. All against? Okay, minutes passed. What I'd like to say here is, in the future, let's take some personal responsibility for all the committee members, that if you do not get the minutes or you do not get the agenda, it's your responsibility to contact the city and find out where they are, and so we can avoid this confusion. So let's just take some personal responsibility on that. That's my editorial for the day. Okay, next item of business is the review of the financial statements. Can you read that, Debbie?
Sure. So what we have to review today are the August 31st statements. You can see I've labeled them preliminary because I had just not finished the August closing completion. And there's very little that happened in August. And we reviewed July results last month. But as far as the balance sheet is concerned, total cash is about 1.8 million. There's a small negative accounts payable, which likely results from some sort of refund. And then amounts due to other funds, that 26,000 relates to the payroll costs associated with the Front Beach restroom attendant. We have received none of the state ATAX money for FY22 so far, but have recorded $281 worth of interest income. On the expenditure side, we have costs associated with the public restroom operations of a little over $13,000. Beach Barrel and Front Beach Business District trash pickup, that contract year to date is at $12,443. Nothing else new on that page. Flipping over, we had expenses associated with the staff meal on the 4th of July. This is, even though we didn't have the fireworks show, this is, of course, one of the city's busiest days. So weekends. All hands on deck, police and fire and other city personnel as well. And so historically, there's been a staff meal prepared at the public safety building for all the people who are working. Recreation department, They bought a piece of equipment to repair the bongo. I'm not exactly sure what the bongo equipment is, but they repaired it. And then flipping over, I think that's it.
Any questions for Debbie? Okay, then we'll continue to move on. Old business. I can't find my agenda. We want to have a discussion and consider alternatives to the 30% accommodations tax promotional fund. Currently, as everyone knows, we pay all of that money to Charleston Area Visitors Bureau, and we've been researching the merits of considering alternatives to that. At the last meeting, I gave everybody a homework assignment, and I asked everybody to spend some time visiting the Charleston Area Visitors Bureau website, familiarize yourself with that, and particularly get a feeling and a sense of how Isle of Palms is featured and treated on the website. I also requested that everyone visit the visitfolly.com website as an example of a tourism promotion website done by a city sponsored or a city organization of a non-profit DMO. And I'd like to open it up to the floor for discussion concerning what did everyone find through that research. Does anyone have any comments or positives, negatives, whatever it might be about that activity? Did anybody look at the websites?
Yes.
Yes.
No thoughts, comments, or nothing to say?
Well, I'm real strong in kind of supporting what they do at the chamber, at the CVB rather. I think that that is our best use of our money spent for everyone concerned. You know, they do a tremendous job overall. I think the website is good. I think it's inclusive of everybody. The Folly Beach idea is basically just a website listing businesses, which could easily be set up, I would assume, through our operations with CVB. You know, I look at these numbers here, and we didn't go over the last 5 years or 4 years here, but if you look at the numbers, fiscal year 19 or 18 rather, 1.8 million, 19, 2 million. This year, 2.4 million. I mean, I think the results speak for themselves, how well they're doing. Could it be tweaked? Sure. You know, everything could be tweaked a little bit, but I think it'd be foolish for us to try to spend that money ourselves with working with an ad agency. I mean, I just don't see where that's gonna make sense. They make their money based on what we spend. So they're going to encourage us to spend a lot of money unnecessarily, I think. You know, this money is directly from visitors. It's not, you know, property tax money, anything along those lines. It's directly from visitors, and they're bringing results and more visitors. So I think it's hard to argue with the fact of trying to do something on our own. Their reach is so far and wide, with the new airlines in the area, with leisure business, group business, weddings, golf. You know, I just think it's foolish for us to consider to go somewhere else, is my personal opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
And I agree as well. I don't see why we need to go out and reinvent the wheel when they're already doing a good job, in my opinion.
Thank you,
Right,
Rusty.
right. I did look at both sites. I think that the best benefit would come from a combination of use of the two approaches. I did notice the Folly Beach website in a number of internet and print sources that I've seen in the last month. So it is reaching people. It reached me just through using the internet. I think that if we can balance it so that we have a combination that helps people who perhaps haven't gotten direct benefit from convention and bureau business, they've done an excellent job. There's no question about that. But I think that we could probably push that even further and involve some tourism management as well as tourism marketing in our plan. If we have a separate organization to do that, we're in a time of over tourism. I've been reading a book about over tourism in different places all around the country. Everybody wants to come to certain places. Travel is readily available to people now, except for COVID, but travel is increasing. And it's along with it come problems to the locations and the communities that surround them. And I think that we might have an opportunity to turn some of that into benefit for our local community, and to do a little bit of management along with marketing. So a combination. I don't think we're looking to eliminate it completely. The CBB, what we've been doing in the past, we're looking for a combo.
Okay. Any other comments?
I'd be interested to hear what my friend Malcolm Burgess has to say. I don't want to put you on the spot. You're the longest
Yeah,
serving
spot. I'd
member
stick with
of,
the business bureau.
pardon me?
I would stick with how we doing it now.
Okay. All right, my thoughts are that it may be best to continue with CVB. It may not. It seems to me to be irresponsible and reckless and foolish not to advise council to at least look into the matter. I'm not suggesting for right now that we make a change, but if we don't look into it, that to me is reckless. I care about, I'm the at-large member of our committee, and I'm maybe in a unique position, but I care about the beaches. I care about how our money is being spent for the beaches. I care about the beautification. I care about seeing that our taxpayers' money is well spent, and it is our taxpayers' money. I disagree just because it comes from somewhere else. We have the burden. We have to pay for police. We have to pay for garbage. We have to pay for the fire department. And for us not to even look into the matter seems to me to be is reckless. If we had a business, we have audits. We see how they're doing. We just don't accept that what we get. And again, this is not being critical of the CVB for whom I have respect. I'm just saying if we say we're not going to look into it, I can't imagine what would be worse. That would be what in law they would call deliberate indifference. That we don't care about our island, we don't care about our residents, we don't care about how our tax money is being spent. And it's not an all or nothing thing. Competition's good. You've got somebody that's got a proven track record. They've done real well. We don't make the ultimate decision. I don't know how else to say it, but we are an advisory committee. All we're doing is saying, council, we're spending over $60,000 a month. 60,000. It's what, $733,000 a year of our taxpayers' money that's going out. And we're not going to even look at how it's spent. We're not going to evaluate it. It may be very, very well spent. The CVB has an excellent track record for the area as a whole. Is it what's best for the Isle of Palms? Do we need to have promote tourism in the summer when we're already pretty crowded? I don't know. We need to have a good process. I've asked the question before and I still don't have the answer. Do we put this out for bid? Are we supposed to follow the procurement code? As a lawyer, I'm of the opinion we ought to follow the law. I'm concerned that We may not be. I think it may cause problems in the future. I don't want to see our residents harmed. I don't want Turk or the Attorney General or the State Treasurer to say we have not been good guardians. I'm not saying that we haven't. I'm just saying that if, without looking into the matter or urging council to look into the matter and determine what's in our best interest, it would be very, very unwise. I don't want to be on the record. I'm not going to be on the record as saying, I don't care. I'm just going to continue like I have. Some of the most dangerous words I've heard is in government. Well, why are we doing this? Well, that's the way we've always done it, without having any oversight, without looking into it, trying to decide what we should do in our best interest. Staying the course, again, may be best, but it may not. But if we don't even look at it, I can't imagine what would be more of a disservice for for the public on the Isle of Palm. So I want to be on record saying I care about our beaches. I want to see that our ATAX money is spent appropriately. It may be able to be spent for the beaches, for beach beautification, for safety, for the fire department, police department, trash pickup, what's in the best interest of our community. We can have murals. We can have, we may be able to spend some of our money better for the beach mats. You've seen the blue beach mats that go over to the actual beach. But without having anybody to look at it and look at the hard numbers, I can't condone continuing without even caring to look further. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to make a couple of points. What I've done, trying to think this through, is try to identify what we think the problem is, and then come up with what are reasonable corrective actions to the problem. Obviously, some people don't think there's any problem, so I understand that and I respect their opinions. But I'll go through a few things that I think are worrisome, at least from my point of view, and I'll try to offer solutions, which I think are reasonable. I mean, or might be agreeable to everyone. One of the issues I have is that we spend this money and there's no oversight that I can see, and there's no accountability that I see. It's sort of like, give me all your money and I'll tell you what a great job I did a year later, or give me all your money and I'll tell you how much I don't need. There's no. It just write a check and hope for the best in terms of the current state of affairs. One of the issues I've always had from the beginning, and I got into this role, I read the law, and the law says that the DMO will submit. Now, I'm going to stress one word here. The DMO shall submit for approval a budget of planned expenditures. I've only been here a short time. I'm not aware that there's ever been a budget prepared or budget submitted for approval. And then secondly, it goes on to say at the end of each year, an accounting of the expenditures to the city. Again, I'm new. All that I've seen on the accounting of the expenditures is a lump sum total, one number, no detail. So that's I see that as a problem. I don't see it complying with the law. There is no agreement between the two parties. Now, I don't know that that's necessary or not necessary, but what I will say is, I think if there's a relationship and there's a lot of money involved, there should be specific goals and objectives set in some sort of a mechanism to measure those results to the goals and objectives. Another point I will make, and I'm glad you guys reviewed the websites. That's important. However, if you drill down a bit, try to understand what's going on, all short-term license holders, licensees, they all pay into the accommodations tax fund. So the $733,000 that was paid to CVB came from Wild Dunes, came from the rental property management companies, came from individual owners who manage their own rentals, that whole pie. Well, to my way of thinking, CVB should represent all taxpayers. Currently, the only businesses that they feature on their website for Isle of Palms are businesses that pay extra money to be members of CVB. That's how you get focused, targeted attention. I think that's wrong. It's my opinion, but that doesn't, to my way of thinking, that doesn't sound like equal application or equal representation of taxpayer money to me. I don't, I could be wrong, but I see that as an issue. It's an issue that I have. In all of those rental companies that are members of CVB, they then get referrals. So CVB gets website activity, they get people interested in accommodations, they send referrals to their member companies. They don't send referrals to non-member companies. That's not fair. Another thing I'm hard pressed, I can't kind of rationalize is we paid $733,000. Sullivan's Island, I believe, pays somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000. Folly Beach last year paid 20. This year they're budgeted to pay 25. We're treated the same way. There is no differentiation between Folly Beach, Sullivan's Island, you go on Seabrook, Keel, or Isle of Palms. So we have the privilege of paying magnitudes more than anybody else for equal, for no better, or maybe, worse either, but no, we're paying a premium for, we're paying a, BMW price for a Volkswagen or whatever the analogy is. Okay, so those are some of the concerns that I have that I think need to be at least acknowledged and say, okay, what are you going to do about it? And so I'm not one to just throw out problems and without trying to come up with some way to fix it. I suggest that CVB, in our continuing relationship with CVB, we have specific goals for them to have objectives to meet, specific goals, specifically to, we're busy in the summer. Nobody wants to see any more people in the summer. But what we do want is off-season rental business, and we want group sales business for Wild Dunes and for our restaurants and so on and so forth. So I would like to see CVB give us some specific goals and how they're going to address what we want to accomplish, what we want to see happen, meaning the off-season and that kind of thing. And my suggestion is this committee would sit down and work with Wild Dunes and work with CVB to develop specific measurements on, so that we can then go back and say, okay, how did we do? How did this work? Did it work? Did it not work? Right now we have a supplier. I come from business, so I look at CVB as a supplier. They're if you're gonna have a successful customer supplier relationship, you have to have a plan of how you're gonna go through that relationship and what your goals are and how you're gonna accomplish them, and then review whether you did or not. That's not happening. And if they're gonna be a part of our tourism promotion, we need to be a part of, the group needs to be actively involved together. I also think that I know that other beach communities pay for placement in, whether it be articles or advertisements or whatever in some of CVB's publications, their wedding guides, their visitors guide. I think if we're paying $733,000, our competition is paying $25,000, we deserve attention, feature articles, advertisement, whatever it might be in those publications. I just think that just makes sense. Otherwise, tell me where the money went. I mean, the other people are cutting checks for specific activities like that. I feel we deserve that. I suggest, or I propose that CVB assign a staff liaison to Isle of Palms ATAX committee. And that staff liaison comes to our meetings as an invited guest. And just like we report, just like Debbie does a financial or somebody does a review report, that liaison reports on the activity, successes, failures, but activity. This is what we're going to do. Okay, we have a wedding guide coming out in February. We're going to do this, this, and this. We tell us what you're doing with our money. We want to know. And lastly, I respect everyone's opinion, but let me just throw out an idea, and I'm not looking for a vote or a motion to vote on or anything of that sort. But I have a problem with the fact that you have to pay extra to get visibility on CVB's website after paying almost $750,000. So I feel as though it's in the best interest of the businesses in the taxpayers of Isle of Palms to have their own tourism promotion website like Visit Folly. In my point, there is what I'm suggesting is council carve out some portion of the money that is out of the 30% fund and contract with a company, it could be an advertising company, to create a website that represents all the businesses of Isle of Palms, whether they be rental companies, property managers, restaurants, service providers, fishing, boating, umbrella rentals, and then pay a company to create and manage the website, limiting. I got ahead of myself. So first of all, City Council would have to create a nonprofit DMO. The DMO would contract the services to create a website. Purpose of the website is to do what CVB is not doing, so that when you go to CVB and you click on Isle of Palms, there's a direct link to the Isle of Palms tourism promotion website, and you can go directly there for all the information. Right now, you don't have that. Right now, the only people paying extra are getting referrals, and this could be a way to solve that problem. it would require, like I say, I believe city council to create a new committee. And the committee's sole mission at that point in time is to create and manage a website. It's an idea. My thinking is, we've gone this far, we've learned a lot. We understand what a great job CVB has done, but we're missing some things here. And this is a suggestion to try to fill that missing link there, because we're it just seems to me that there's a void, and I'd like to consider it consider a measure to try to fill that void. So that's my thoughts. Anybody want to have a comment? Say, that was a bad idea. Or
Could we do any of this and leave what we have in place, the 30%, and do any of the other inside that 65%, and kind of relate it to our city website that we already have in place, rather than going through all the expense of setting up another DMO?
well, there's no DMO, so it would be a DMO, but I guess I would say, how much is too much, or how much is not, I mean, okay, we've gone from $600,000 to 733 next year. I don't know what it will be, but I just feel there's an opportunity to improve the situation, and I don't think it can come out of the 65%, I guess is my answer. I think the city manages those funds according to the needs of the city, and I don't think, and this committee doesn't have any responsibility over that. I mean, we could suggest, I suppose, but I suspect in fiscal 2019, CVB was very happy to get $600,000. Now they're even happier this year with 733. I suspect we can accomplish what I'm suggesting with 2019 dollars. Meaning, but I don't know if I answered your question, David, but
It was just a thought off the top of my head that we could do it through a line item in the monies that we do have, rather than setting up a whole DMO ourselves and going through that process and time involved to do it. I'm sure some expense involved to do it as well.
well,
I don't know how expensive that
Well, see,
website is to operate and maintain.
we need to do some research, but I've read as much as I can try to read, and I feel as though the development of a DMO I don't think that's a big thing. It's a legal thing. It's not a big cost. The cost is doing the website, and I think the development of the website, to my way of thinking, the way I read everything within DOR, and Turk's not involved in that stuff, but how can you say that they're willing to pay for for instance, at Folly, the 30% pays for the ad agency that manages the website. So how can you say, well, you can do that, but you can't pay to develop the website? That makes no sense to me. I would think DOR would be fine with it, because they're already fine with the way Folly does it.
I don't see that it's a large expense to set up a separate committee and to accomplish this. That's something that is done by city council once they decide to do this. People who are specialized in marketing know numerous ways to market at all expense levels. If given a budget, they can, use that for a website, for direct mail marketing, to develop a database of past visitors to market to in the future. there's all sorts of digital ways to market that are very reasonable.
At this
And-
point in time, I'm trying to confine the activity to the creation and management of the website.
Right, not the
I'm
actual
not,
cost.
I'm not
right.
suggesting a DMO does independent marketing efforts.
Could the CVB do it for us? Set up the website for us?
Well, they would have to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at Helen.
Sure.
Okay, first of all, I love a list. So, I'm Helen Hill, CEO of Fort Austin. Mr. Chairman, I love a list, and I have 5 things that you said, and I can say yes to all of those. First, we would love to bring you specific measurable goals and have a review of those. I thought your idea about features in all of our publications makes perfect sense. I volunteer myself to be y'all's staff person if you would be willing to accept me. And that the tourism promotion website is a fantastic idea. At our last meeting after our presentation, I heard what you said, Glenda, you and I walked out together, and I think that it's such a great opportunity to lift up every business on the Isle of Palms, whether they're a member of mine or not, who specifically are interested in how to visit your business. And the best part about it is if we are able to set up that independent, we'll be able to set it up independently, but it would also feed into our regular Explore Charleston website. So we've already got a mechanism for it in the neighborhoods page that we are working on with some other governments. So I really think that all of this that y'all have been through, we could create something very special without you as the city having to create another organization to do it. I know that we could do the website, and then I think it would be up to the council to decide who would be listed and how, whether you might want the grocery store, but you might not want the plumber. So it would be up to, I guess, your recommendation and the council's plan to see whether that would work for them or not. But I think it would serve everybody well. I think it would serve the community, and I think it would serve the destination as a whole. So yes, sir, we would love to do all of those specific 5 things that you pointed out.
Can you answer a
Of course,
question or
of
two,
course.
Helen? So to clarify, is your proposal that you would create an Isle of Palms standalone website? So it has its own address and anybody can access it from anywhere,
Yes, sir.
not just through your
Yes, sir.
website?
But the magic of it, yes, we would be standalone, independent website. Additionally, it would feed into the Explore Charleston website to increase and maximize the traffic. Because as you know, you asked for us for the traffic, and the traffic is really great, and it would be wonderful. It'd be one more way to get people there. So yeah, I think it's great. And that way, like Glenda, as you as an individual homeowner would be listed, if that's how council chooses it. So you'd have everyone that council and or whatever y'all set up would be listed.
My question is not specifically to you. I appreciate your willingness to change your current model.
In addition to, is the way I see it.
Right, to add to extend your model. I'm still concerned about single source and the limitation of just a website, because there are other marketing sorts of things that could be done directly for Isle of Palms. It would be up to City Council once again to decide what that looks like. I really like competition. I think it's good. I think having another option to look at, you all would probably win because you have a lot of experience, would probably win that bid with accountability. So that's wonderful that you came back to us, that you all would be one of the source options with an extension of what we already have.
Can I ask the next question? Can I was just curious. I was listening to what what Glenda had to say, and I am appreciative of all the success you've had for the Low Country. I'm trying to get my mind around just we paid $733,000 how much of that, or how can I determine how much of that is spent specifically for the Isle of Palms, for Dan, for Glenda, for anybody who, Malcolm, anybody who has a business here? How are we able to determine how much of our money is spent on the Isle of Palms versus the Low Country? Are we
Well,
able to get?
the document that
kind
I
of
sent
figures?
y'all at the end of last week kind of broke that down specifically by numbers, because I know that you're a numbers boy and you wanted the
Yeah, I'm a
numbers.
numbers guy.
And I like that. So that's why I sent that out to you so that you can see specifically the specific dollar amount that was
I tried
spent.
to look at, can you tell me approximately how much?
I don't have it in front of me, but it was all specifically how the Isle of Palms benefited from each and every expenditure that we made.
I understood that. I was looking at it the other way.
You and
If
I've
we
had this
have
discussion
700
before, and I don't know how to answer that question
we
a
have-
different way.
If we have, Ray pays for ATAX, Glenda pays for ATAX.
Right,
Malcolm has businesses.
right,
It's a total of 700 and say 33,
Right.
773, whatever the
Right.
figure was. $750,000. How much of that was spent on the Isle of Palms versus that benefited the Isle
Right.
of Palms? How much was
well,
it?
it's way, the nice thing about the leverage that we have with the private sector dollars, as well as the money we have from the state, is it was way more than 733. Right, because you get the benefit of all the other funds that we're spending totally. So that's why I'm saying, but I don't know how to answer your question. And we've talked about this so many times. I don't know how to answer it a different way than I'm answering it. And what I would love to do, and Mr. Chairman, I would embrace, I really think it's a good idea, the idea that came out of this group, to have that specific website that has all the businesses listed. And I've talked about that to Desiree, and I think we could pull that off. And I think that it would make everybody really happy, because he wouldn't have to be a member. Like Glenn, like you said, like, I'm not going to pay an additional membership fee because I'm already paying my visitors accommodation tax. So that's where we see us going, is that if you're interested in us doing that, we would love to do it. And we're doing other stuff like the Coast is Clean campaign, and leaving some money, some options for specific Isle of Palms. So down the road, Glenda, if you want to do some specific marketing, that maybe talked about a specific event that the town had in the fall, we would be able to do that specifically for just the island, not for booking for the accommodation. So I'm sorry if I'm not making you happy, Doug, but I can't answer it another way.
I'll try to do a different way. And I'm trying to keep an open mind. Let me use some specific examples. We paid 700 and whatever it is, $750,000. Is any of that money that we pay spent to preserve, protect our second most valuable asset, which is a beach? First is our residents.
Right.
But how much money? I'm just trying to get a rough dollar figure on the.
None of that
beautification.
money is spent for specific protection of your beach, because this money is mandated 30% to go to advertising and marketing. Now, what we can do is for advertising and marketing to do things like the Coast is Clean, because that is in a way protecting the beach. But I will tell you, we work really hard on making sure with our counterparts in Columbia that we really do work hard on your beach renourishment money. As a matter of fact, we just got in 15 million in the Accelerate pool for the state of South Carolina.
Okay, I didn't mean to, I hope I didn't interrupt you. I was looking for, I might have a disagreement with you about whether we have to spend it all on advertising, but versus beautification, helping with parking issues, helping with
And I
beach
believe
mats,
any of your 65%, you can spend that in any of those ways.
parity for the people who are the small people
Right.
that have that are landlords, finding out what you're doing for them on the Isle of Palms. For Mr. Batista here, who's a valued, his company's a valued corporate citizen. I know you said you had 12 people dedicated to, as I understood, 12
For
people
sales, group
dedicated
sales.
to him. So that would be a
Just group
figure
sales.
that we could look at. But can you tell me, or to me, in advertising, that could include murals. It could do more than just putting an ad in Condé Nast or Garden and Gun Can you give me some just rough figures? I'm not trying to hold you, but rough
Well,
figures of
in
what
the-
you're spending. We
Yeah.
include Mr. Batista.
One
We
of the,
include beaches,
Mhm.
beach mats, beautification, murals,
I don't know that we've got any
advertising for
murals.
people who have short-term rentals, landlords, other than, I think 23%, maybe it's up to 27%, but the other 73 to 77%. Can you give me an idea of what you're spending on the Isle of Palms versus the Low Country in general? And I love Low Country. I'm just want to know what we're spending.
well,
for
again, I
us.
don't know how to answer the question a different way than I've answered it. So in the packet that I sent you was the information of specifically, because you asked about group sales. I mean, group sales has probably been more, it's probably going to be so important as we move forward in this new year. So there's a lot of money spent on group sales in terms of, and that is like going to a trade show, right? The follow-up of a trade show, that kind of stuff. But I don't think we've invested in any murals that I know of. So, but I'm willing to talk about any of that, Doug. I'm not trying to be, I want y'all to hear my heart is that I want to serve the Isle of Palms. It's been an important part of Explore Charleston for my whole career. And I really do want to serve you. And I heard what you asked the last time I was here, which was we need to lift up all the businesses, Helen, not just the ones that are your members. And I agree with that. And we're willing to do that. So, and that coming out, you don't have to say, you have to spend extra. Why? We're going to do that because we think that's the right thing to do. And I think we're going to do it for all of our governments. It's a really good idea. So I don't know what else to tell you, but that I'm happy to be your staff person. I'm happy to dig deep with you into whatever you want to dig deep in. I'll come to every meeting. And I just want to get this right for you all.
I have a question as well. If you all extend your services by developing a website specifically for Isle of Palms that includes all of our businesses, let's say that costs, I don't know how much, $12,000. Then you're going to do one for Folly, then you're going to do one for all the other beaches.
But we're going to start with you.
So
See how it works out.
as that happens and becomes part of the extension, that's a small amount of our money. The rest of our money then would go into regional marketing. So whatever is left over from our, $250,000.
Well, I don't think we've made that decision yet. I mean, this was just the idea I'm presenting to you today to let us do the website.
Right,
Let's
I'm
see how it
talking
works out.
about if we do this.
Yeah.
And if that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
So a website is fairly inexpensive to develop.
Well, I don't think my staff would agree with you. We've spent a lot of money on that website. If we do it right, it's not cheap, but
Right, but
Yeah.
it doesn't cost $700,000 to do it every year. So a website will take a small percentage of that money, and then the rest of the money would continue to be used for regional marketing, which is what you all really are very, very good at, is regional marketing, for this whole Charleston regional area, correct?
well, what I heard you say is that you were interested in tourism management as well as tourism marketing and promotion earlier. And I'm saying I've got a lot of experience with that. And I'd love to walk down the path with you. And I can't answer every question that you're saying now because you're asking a lot of what ifs. But I'm just saying that our heart is to serve you. And I heard what you said about lifting up every business. And we would like to do that. And we'd like to get started whenever it's the right time to get started. And we'll walk the path. We're really good at tourism management too. And I think that you're right. You said that when we were leaving here, that tourism management is really important right now on Isle of Palms. I think it's a critical part of what we talk about. I think about Dan, the new gate, and what that created, though, just the very positive feelings. Desiree, the new sidewalks, all the things that happen. So I'm just saying, we want to walk the path with you. We want to be your partner. We don't want to be on the other side of a table. We want to be on the same side of the table, looking out toward our future for the community and specifically for the Isle of Palms.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I did thank you for offering us an option and of having that. And I do believe I was just saying, maybe we can look at a couple of options as well. And I'm glad you all are willing to do that.
Any other thoughts or comments by anybody? I don't think there's any need for a motion at this moment, but what I feel when you get into these things, you don't want to lose the momentum. So what I would, I'd like more information from CVB specifically addressing some of the corrective actions that I suggested, and more information on how this website that you're offering would be managed. That's the biggest thing to me. Creating is not such a big thing, but it's the management of it and making it active, up to date, current, and all of that. That's a big function. That's not a little thing to do. And what you would never want to do is have a city website out there and be at Labor Day and have 4th of July advertisements going on. I mean, it's just really not a good thing. So I'm asking, and I think whatever the response is and how this would be done, all of the things, all 5 things you wrote down, I feel like you need to report to everyone on the committee on that. So I'm proposing that we have another meeting in October, and try to have you, with the primary focus, unless something else comes up in the meantime, is for you to present the whole action plan of everything that we're asking, and so that we can understand it and try to get, maybe we have to get smaller groups together, because I still think if we're going to create metrics and measurements, that Dan's organization needs to be involved with our organization and your organization. And because we have, like I said, we're full in the summer, we need off season, we need group sales, those kind of things. So let's focus on those things. Be nice to get a wedding or a reunion and all of that. So how are we going to measure the results of those efforts and come up with meaningful measurements as a group, so we're all enrolled in it and all have a stake in the thing. So
Do we need to make a motion to do that, or?
no, I think we just schedule another
Schedule
meeting
another meeting.
and say that the agenda would be focused on that initiative. Does everyone like Wednesdays? That works for everybody. I mean, I don't want Friday.
Friday's not good.
Okay, now how about Wednesday, October 20th? Nicole, how does that look?
You mean for the next meeting or for a special meeting?
No, the next, it's not special other than,
For our regular meeting?
it'll be a regular meeting.
If we follow, Chairman, if we follow the same schedule that you have for previous meetings, it would fall on October 13th, which is the proposed date on your agenda.
Yeah.
But I think Helen's not going to be here, so if we want to make sure
That's probably not a good day for me either.
okay, all right, we can do.
But I can go, the 14th or any,
We could do the 20th. It's-
I have a conflict on the 20th.
I do as well.
okay.
I actually have marked my calendar a year in advance for the second Wednesday of every month at 11 for this meeting. So when I plan future vacations and things, they will not conflict with this date. So I prefer to stay with the second Wednesday at 11. That way, we won't be changing every month, and I can plan my life ahead and still be at the meetings.
Okay, well,
Just if it works for the city.
I could do the 13th as long as Delta Airlines is on time.
Well, I think Helen's not going to be here the
Oh,
13th, and you
okay.
all have requested a
Okay, yeah,
presentation from them.
That won't work.
And I think the presentation, is it a presentation or a proposal?
I was thinking it would be a discussion, so we can dig into the details of what it is you're looking for and what I can provide. That's what I was hoping to be, to dig into like a real working.
Well, since you're the
Workshop.
focus of the meeting, what works best for you?
That next week, I can make anything work. I'm just flat town that
What-
week.
what
Next week? I'm sorry, the week of starting
18th.
on the 18th. I can do it anytime that week. It worked for you
And-
guys.
Dave, did you have a problem with the 20th?
Yeah, it's my anniversary. I'm out of town.
Okay, either side, is it an extended celebration?
Several week, but
Okay,
we
as
could
long as you get
try
a
the
quorum.
the 27th. October 27th, or
Sure,
that's
I mean, that's-
another,
I can do that.
I'm fine, everybody else.
The
That works.
27th is currently open for me.
Let's plan that.
27th at 11. We could do it, we could start, I
Can-
believe we may have court that day at 1.
Can we start earlier?
If we could start at 10,
Yeah, 10, let's do that.
gives you all a little bit more time and flexibility for the working session. Does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
10? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, could I send some things in advance for everybody to be thinking about? That way y'all would have the opportunity to get through it, and then we could come together when we're working, we'd have some of that information. So I think there's some hard decisions to be made about the website as it relates to who's listed, how they put that information in, because I think your point is well made, that it has to be very up to date to be valuable.
if you want to send it to me, we'll make sure that everybody gets it. We'll check and see what the issue was with some of y'all not receiving the agenda and packet for this week. I'll look into that with VC3 to see whether there was some type of hiccup. But once that's confirmed, I'll communicate directly to you all.
Okay,
Helen, can we get is it possible for us to get I've got one of them, but the last 2 years, 990s and, okay, and I think that, and whatever the associated independent audit is. I don't think there's an examination or a forensic, but I think it's just the independent. Okay, thanks.
And if we're still on our discussion, I thought really where we were going is we were looking at having an alternative DMO situation to use that could potentially have benefit. It sounds like we just took a turn and decided to, which is okay, to have you all provide additional services and not have a second option. Is that now what we're looking at?
no, that's not the way I
Okay,
feel
tell me.
about it. We didn't decide anything. So way I see it, we decided to have another meeting. I still think if Isle of Palms were to create its own nonprofit DMO, that has merit, but there's another alternative on the table that I think we need to research before we go down the path of our own DMO. Whenever, to your point earlier, whenever when I was working, we always had at least 2 sources for everything that was meaningful anyway. And that always kept the competitors honest and competitive and so on and so forth. So I sort of am an advocate of Ronald Reagan. Trust but verify. I think if the creation of a DMO is there, that solves that concern. But I also say that if CDB creates the vehicle that we want within the framework of our current relationship, we got the best of both worlds. We're not spending any more money. We were limited with the amount of money is finite. It's enough. But so if we get what we want without a lot of other work and effort and in potential, doesn't mean that if we created our own DMO, it doesn't mean that it's going to be a success either. So you got to factor that in. So I think it's still on the table, but I'm interested in hearing more from CDB on how they can do what we're asking, and it'll be a win-win for everybody. That would be the ideal.
And right now, we're talking about adding a website. One thing about when you have 2 or 3 sources to go to, you have diversity, they all come with different ideas and different options that we might not even have thought of. We might be able to actually get the website and get other options or other things as well for the same amount of money. So I would like to see that still on the table.
Okay. That's
All right.
as noted.
I've got an observation that it only cost a few $1,000s to set up a DMO, but I don't think we're there yet. I think we're in the investigative mode. We shouldn't just accept CVB or reject CVB. Give them an opportunity to first give us the information that we think we need. I think that's where we are. I think that's where we are. That we're in layman's terms, we're looking into it.
Well, I think there's an opportunity and you have to look at it. I have to look at it that way. We have needs. They're suggesting solutions to those needs and they're an existing supplier. And so we have a relationship. So you're more likely to be able to work things out with somebody you know than somebody you don't. And my preference at this moment would be to make it work for everybody.
Well, I respect my friends over to my left, but I don't understand why we shouldn't at least look into it. It seems like that's the I'm relatively new, so maybe I don't know, and you've got more experience, but I don't understand why we wouldn't want to look into it. I think that would be fair to CVB. That'd be very fair to them. It'd be fair to the citizens, and I think that's where we are. We're just going to look into it, aren't we? We're not having to vote on it.
We're not voting on anything and we're scheduling a meeting to get more information about what CVB has to offer.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
It might be helpful to go back and remember the assignment from council earlier this year, which was study and research what the current relationship is, how can it be improved, and also research alternatives to the CVB, which is, I think, what the committee has been doing for the past several months. Just looking at pros and cons, what are the other alternatives? Are there any unintended consequences with creating a DMO? Can the relationship with the city has with the CVB be improved? And if so, what would that look like? What does success look like at the end of a successful relationship, whether it's with a CVB or a separate DMO? So I think that this is part of this whole discussion and future discussions is part of doing that due diligence and exercise. So you all could bring to council a recommendation of how to move forward, either improving the current structure and current relationship or doing something different. I just think that is an important advice or recommendation that should be looked at from every single angle. What would happen if the city establishes a new DMO and the city's accommodations taxes start to decrease? Do we have some mitigating efforts put in place to address that if that comes to happen? So all of that should be part of the discussion about what the city will do in the future for the use of that 30%, which is, pretty clear in state law that it has to be used for marketing and tourism promotion and advertisement. So I think that with the chair, if I'm understanding correctly, is just wanting to continue to entertain an in-depth conversation about what the options are and what a better or more structured relationship with the CVB would look like to help you all make an informed decision about what to do next.
And there's a third alternative, and that would be improving our current relationship and considering combining it with an additional opportunity or relationship.
I guess
Which
it
is a
could-
third
it could look
alternative.
like, anything that the committee would want to do. But I think that there's still an opportunity here to hear from the CVB about how the problems and issues that have been identified could be addressed. And if you all don't think that's sufficient, you could continue to evaluate what other options you have.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. We've invited Helen to come back, give us some ideas and a presentation on ideas and solutions, and we decide what we are going to do with them, whether we accept them, whether we want to go forward, whether we don't think they're going to work, you know, whatever it might be. But we're still in the fact-finding mode, I think, and I don't think we're prepared to go to city council with a recommendation at this moment.
Well, nobody's saying we ought to fire CVB. To your point, we're looking, I think what you said, we would call it bookends. You're looking at what's the worst that can happen to us. We don't want to be there. What's the best? Maybe we want to be there. Maybe there's somewhere in the middle where we can all work together.
Okay.
But I don't think we're trying to fire anybody.
Okay, I think we all agree.
Okay.
That will close old business. Is there any new business to be discussed? Okay, we already discussed the next meeting, so do I have a motion for adjournment?
Also move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.